Hi, I'm Jesse Britton, professional artist, and I want to share with you some techniques and skills that I've learned along the way to enable you to draw anything you want from life using a simple skill set that I'm going to show you right now.
All right, let's get started. So we're going to be using a 3B pencil, a B pencil, and a 2H pencil. All right, so we're going to focus on this basic shape here. I'm going to use the 2H, which is the hardest pencil and the lightest pencil at the same time. So what we're going to do is I'm actually looking through the camera at the apple so that you and I are both seeing the same apple, which is kind of cool because then you can draw along if you want to. So you're just kind of doing the basic gestures of the lines. It's a real quick, real soft sketch, you know, and it's okay to even leave these pencil marks here. It's really just so that we can see where the parameters of the object are. So I don't want to get too dark, you know, but a little bit of dark when I feel more confident in where my lines or edges are. Then I can start darkening it up once I feel like I've got the basic shape taken care of. I'm seeing this shadow kind of the very tip of this shadow right here about 3/4 of the way through. So I'm gonna kind of judge here. That's like 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So I'm gonna say it's about right there. And that's where the shadow begins. So I'm gonna bring that shadow around just a little bit more. And it comes pretty much right off the apple and comes out just a little bit, it looks like. All right, so let me bring this in here. We don't want to get too crazy, too dark, too fast, but it's okay to go ahead and get that middle pencil out, which is going to be your 3B. And we're going to start kind of just putting down very lightly, just kind of feather the paper. We're going to be putting down some of the darks of the apple. I see this edge up top here being pretty dark. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of, it's nice to have just a little bit of satisfaction that you're getting somewhere sometimes, you know? So you go ahead and darken up some edges. And I'm seeing this line, this line right here. It's not really a line, but more of just a shading. I'm seeing it really dark here and lighter there. So I'm gonna kind of give myself a little bit of shadow, like darkness, you know? I don't wanna press down too hard. Usually when you're using pencils like this, you wanna not overdo it right away. Overlapping, you know, you can make ovals. See how I'm making the ovals? You can do lines, you know, they call it hatching, and then cross hatching. You can do that. You know, it depends. If you're trying to go for hyper realism, then you don't really want to see a lot of texture in your pencil. You just want to see what you're looking at. So going over your image again and again is really okay. You know, because you can always get darker and you can get lighter too, but then you have to use the eraser. And anytime you use an eraser, your paper is going to be getting like less, it's going to be kind of, you're kind of damaging your paper just a little bit. I mean, I don't want to freak you out or anything, but it's true. You kind of, you know, depending on the eraser, this is a pretty good eraser. Let's get this dark out here. It looks pretty dark. I got a pretty good spotlight on it. I got a, it's a kind of an adjustable spotlight. I can put a link to a good spotlight, like a table spotlight, like an inexpensive one. If you want to get it delivered from Amazon, I can put a link in the description box below. Also, I can put a link to the paper that I'm using and the pencil kit that I got. Still working on my gestural drawing as I go, or my light sketch as I go. And then the good thing about the light sketch is that you can always hide it later when you kind of darken up the whole drawing. And it's really okay to just take your time, be soft, with your pencil, and just like enjoy the process. It's kind of meditative, when you're learning to draw. That's the neat thing about art, is that you learn to get into, I guess what you would call a flow state. You're just right here. You're hyper focused, but you're also kind of loosely focused. You're kind of spacing out with clarity, which is wonderful. So really, really good for your brain, good for your eyes, good for everything. Okay, so this looks like, I'm seeing this, there's a bigger indentation there, and this looks small and out of place. Okay, so I'm just gonna erase it. And how I'm doing this, how I'm drawing when when I look up and I look down, that's how I'm kind of gauging everything. So it's almost like you're doing like you're drawing a map, of what you see. So you look up at the shape, basic shape, and you look down. You look up and you look down. And the more you do that, the more time you take, the more realistic it's going to look. I'm not going for hyper realism right now because I'm just wanting to share with you some of the basics of drawing that I've learned over the years. Here we go, we're getting there. Sometimes when you're drawing something dark, you can use what the artists and the teachers call artistic license. And that is, if something's looking good here on your paper and it doesn't look exactly like that, then that's cool. You've got your artistic license. You can do whatever you want. If you're trying to impress, with your ability to draw exactly what you see, which is the best and most amazing skill, then you really want to use the technique of looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, and constantly refining your shape. So I'm seeing this edge curving in a little bit more than I have it here. So I'm gonna do a little bit of erasing. My teacher always told me never to erase, but I've since had many teachers, so. Still not quite right. I don't want to get too crazy with the eraser because like I said, it really will mess your paper up. I'm trying to make this real simple too. Like you don't need to know all the fancy terms unless you're going to be a college teacher or whatever. So yeah, this paper also is a vellum paper. So it's vellum is like a step down from super smooth, So this is a Bristol vellum paper, which I like personally because it has just enough texture to really hold the graphite and hold the pencil, but not so much that you can't, any mark you make, like if you have a super smooth Bristol paper, then any mark you make is going to be like super there, This paper is enough for you to get a more realistic drawing, which is why I like it. So if you want to do like a super smooth drawing and super realistic drawing, you can get the vellum. I mean, there's other. So if you're drawing something and you're like, oh man, why does everything look all chunky? you know, or why are these ridges in my paper, you know? So if that might have to do with the type of paper you're using. If you're using a like a super ridged paper, then you're gonna, you know, you're not gonna get this smooth effect. You're gonna get some real chunky, like grainy looking shading, which is also cool. Just don't be surprised if you're using that kind of paper but you want to do this, you know. I like the chunky stuff for like sketches or if you want that more rugged look, but if you're trying to go for something a little more refined, you know, and like more kind of just trying to get that realistic quality, then you probably want, see, I overdid it. And also, that's also because of the eraser there. So I should have switched my pencil to my H, you know? So once the eraser goes over your paper, you're kind of making your paper the grainier type of paper. So you're gonna have that grittier look, you know? But luckily we've got the H pencil, which is the lightest pencil. So that we can just kind of overlay that and not have to get that gritty look. Because yeah, the eraser basically goes in and kind of grinds up the paper a little bit too. It's getting rid of the graphite, but it's also kind of getting rid of some paper. So you're gonna have that same effect as if you would that you would have if you you're gonna have that same effect, you know, that you would have if you were using a grainier paper, like a more ridged paper. And it's good too to go back and overlap your darks with like the lightest one. It makes a big difference to have different types of pencils too. All right, the great thing about the way I set this up, see right up here at the top edge, you've got some shadow behind it at the lightest point, which is gonna bring the object forward. So dark to light away from the edge of any object is gonna bring that object forward. That is invaluable information when you're a beginning drawer. So you want to pop your edge, you got to have some dark behind it. And you can set that up that way. You know, the good thing about drawing a still life is you're in control. As long as, you know, you are in control of the still life, you know? So that really like brings that forward. So yeah, you see that vellum, you got that little bit of grit in it, which is okay. We're just gonna go back over it, you know? All right, so I hatched one way, now I'm gonna hatch the other way. Kind of going back over to smooth out the edge, you know? A lot of times, you know, in beginning courses for drawing, you know, you'll have like your, you can practice with a triangle, you can practice with a circle, you can practice with like any kind of cylinder, and practice just your shading. And a lot of times what they'll have you do is you'll shade from dark to light, which is the essence of making any object look three-dimensional, is finding, you know, the dark areas and then bringing them softer towards the light. So you have your darkest area, and then as we get closer to the light, it gets softer and softer and softer. The coloration of the apple also lends to that, which in this case is fortunate. It's kind of why I picked this apple, is because it's got that, you know, you're also working with the discoloration, you know, so you've got the light at the very top, which is great to have if you're trying to create a realistic image. So it's really soft shading in here, you know. Sometimes leaving the edge right next to the darkest, so like, see how we've got the dark fading away from here, so like that dark shading coming away from the edge. It looks pretty amazing if it's popping right there, but sometimes that's too much. Just a little bit, dull that down, because everything that's kind of coming also towards you gets, see where right here, that little light. So that little kind of highlight there also is where the light is hitting the highest point of that indentation. So what we're doing now is called creating midtones. So now we're kind of like squinting. You want to squint. I forgot to mention that. That's important. When you're drawing anything from life, you want to look up at it and squint at it. Like, squint your eyes like you're looking at the sun, right? And squint at what you're looking at. And when you do that, you get basic shapes, okay? So I want you to draw those basic shapes. Instead of drawing an apple, you know? So we're just kind of working with our shapes. Remember to take your time, look up, look down, look up, look down. So right now I'm relating this line to this. So I'm relating this area, and I'm trying to see the shape of that little discoloration. So I'm gonna see the shape right there. Discoloration. So we're doing the one-way shading, real soft, you know, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on there. I mean, if the hardest I could press down here was like a 5, I'm using a 2, you know, or maybe sometimes a 3. Like when I get closer to the darks, I go 3. So the graphite just kind of comes right off of there. But even if you just have like one kind of pencil, how hard or soft you press down has a whole lot to do with what you're. So look, I'm pressing kind of lightly here, right? Lightly. And I'm gonna get over here. I'm gonna press down just a little bit harder. So I'm gonna go from 1.5, right? If 5 is the hardest, to like a let's say. Right here, I'm gonna probably do like a 2. And so there's something else to know is that if you come, I'm gonna do this, this is not what I would do for a drawing, but I'm gonna do this anyway, okay, just so you can see. But if you go in and you push too hard down, you will indent the paper. And when you indent the paper, you actually cause light to shine off the paper. You probably can't see it, but if you do it too hard, the light on the paper will distract from your drawing. So like, if the light from your paper distracts from your drawing, if you indent the paper with a bunch of glossy graphite, you're gonna, instead of seeing the shape, you're gonna see this like kind of like reflection of light, which is not good. We don't want that. We want to have a masterwork, right? We want to impress your teachers and friends, and you know, this applies to everything also. So like, you know, if you're painting and you want to create an edge, remember, you go dark to light away from the edge. And I'm going to take some liberty here and make that just a little bit darker, okay? Right there. Really, guys, the possibility is endless with this. You know, I could spend 2 hours just drawing this apple, but I'm not gonna, because I know nobody wants to sit through a 2-hour video. Just making a real quick kind of video here. But you know, also too, I'm just barely going over the paper. You know, this is the darkest one. Let's do this. Let's get our 3B, the midtone. I'm gonna squint. Okay, so when I squint, I see this little dark on the bottom here, squinting, that right there. So I'm squinting, and I've left this kind of edge open as like a reflection from the table, because the light is also reflecting off the table onto the apple. You don't really see it here. I can see it because I'm looking at the apple in real life, but it's there. And it's okay to leave that there, or even let it be a little bit more visible, because it makes the apple pop. It makes it look more three-dimensional. You can even do that with the shading. I chose not to do that with the shading because I set up a really high contrast light. I wanted it to be nice and dark and have a lot of dark and a lot of light involved for the sake of the video. This is our midtone. And it's a little chunky looking, you know? You see that chunky kind of grain there? So I'm gonna get the lightest one, and I'm just gonna kind of use the lightest one to go over that to kind of get rid of the chunks, you know, get rid of that like grainy look. But now you know you can grainy it up if that's what you want to. A grainy Smith apple, that was a joke. I can be funny sometimes. All right, here we go. I'm gonna reel it in here for you. Hopefully you're following along. I mean, you can even screenshot this apple, take a screenshot of it, and then, you know, just kind of try to beat my drawing. And if you do, please feel free to send it to me. I'll put my my links to my Instagram on here, and feel free to comment if you like this video. Also feel free to share your drawings. I'd love to see them. And then let me know how I did. If I did terrible, tell me. If I did great, tell me. I'd love to hear your opinions, and I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. I plan to do more for you guys. I've got some reviews too on other supplies, you know, I'll be doing, and hopefully get you all the way to painting and doing, you know, portraits, which would be cool because you can make money doing portraits. You can also make money drawing things for people, you know. I've made money drawing portraits of people's dogs before, you know. It takes a while, you know. Usually it takes longer than in our age of trying to make as much money as you possibly can as fast as you can. You know, a drawing takes time, but you know, it's beautiful when you get it all nice and smooth. Okay, so see these lines here? That's me kind of rushing, you know, through this. So what I'm going to do is just very softly, using my softest pencil, which is the 2H. I'm going to go back over those lines. I'm going to cross hatch, okay? Which is one technique you can use to kind of overlap and get rid of some of the. Now cross hatching, you can get crazy with it. You can just straight cross hatch, you know, if you want to make it look more sketchy, you know. So also something else I like to do when I'm shading in around an object, kind of give a little bit of light. So when I look at this object here, I feel like it looks lighter around the shadow, right? And maybe that's just an optical illusion, but I'm gonna play on that optical illusion. And I'm gonna leave there just a little bit of light. I'm not gonna shade all the way up next to it with my midtones. Only just a little bit of light. Around the edge of the shadow and around the edge of the darkest part of the apple, right in there. I'm gonna bring some of that shading up to the edge here, all the way up to the edge here, you know, because I'm seeing that. That's what I'm seeing, and if it looks like that would look good, do it. You know, like I said, this matters more than this. You know, in the end, we want our drawing to look amazing, so we can use whatever tricks we have to make that drawing look amazing. And one of those tricks I've learned is to like shade right up to the edge of right up to the edge of the darkest part, and kind of taper into that, you know, real softly, and leave just a little tiny bit of light around it. It just makes the lighting more dramatic looking. All right, hopefully that's looking. I think my shape might be a little fudged, but again, for the sake of the video, I'm more sharing techniques with you guys and trying to do like a complete masterpiece. So my light is pretty bright. I've got the lights in the room mostly turned off. I've got a light on behind me. And I've got just a little bit of light. Well, I'm using the same lamp. I've got the light from my lamp shining here. So that's how I'm able to see this, what I'm doing. But mostly, right now, it's pretty dark in here, not super dark. I've got, like I said, light on behind me, like in the kitchen. But, yeah, cool. All right. Like I said, I could take more time, but I really don't want you guys to go to sleep on me. Anyway, there you go. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe.
I really appreciate you watching and sticking through to the end of the video. If you'd like to support this channel, feel free to buy me a coffee. The link is down below. Thanks again. See ya.